Challenge USA and Canada have gathered in the pit lane. Jeremy Shaw, this is very exciting indeed to have the opening of the two respective championship seasons here at Sebring. In fairness, a few of the Canadian competitors came to this race last year, even though it wasn't a round of their championship, not a point scoring round.
Yeah, this year it is, and there's 9 cars here from Northern, well, actually 8 cars here from Northern. Roman De Angelis is the 9th who is entered for the Canadian Series, and he's also entered for the American Series. It will be he who will start on the pole position, so it depends on carrying 2 car numbers here. It's all rather complicated. But this is a regular Kelly Moss car, the Kelly Moss Road Racing machine, and Kelly Moss, the most successful team in the history of the Porsche GT3 Challenge USA by Yokohama. And young Roman De Angelis, great effort to start on the pole position.
We're on a slight pause for an incident over at Tower Turn, number 13, and that has put things back just a little bit. Ali Mello, who's the brand ambassador for Yokohama, is across the track from us in the Mobile 1 12-hour Sebring starter stand. She will be waving the flag. And we are about to do one of my favourite things possible, which is to get the drivers started, and then Jeremy will run down the grid. So I get to do the drivers.
Command. So now the most famous words in all of motorsport. Drivers, start your Porsche engines. So with the flat sixes firing into life, here's how they'll line up for the first round of the 2018 seasons for the Porsche GT3 Cup Challenges of USA and Canada. Jeremy Shaw.
34 cars on the starting grid, we hope, for this afternoon's race. One driver who did not set a qualifying time this morning was the Norwegian Egidio Perfetti for NGT Motorsport in car number 26. That is a Gold Cup entry. There's two slightly different classifications of GT3 Cup cars. There's the Gold cars, which were for cars built between 2014 and 16, and the Platinum cars that were built since 2017, so 17 and 18. Alongside him on the grid is Adam Raunos in car number 24 for NGT Motorsport. He's a very late entry. On row 16 of the grid, car number 74 is Tom Kerr for TPC Racing, and number 83, Max Tolman for Tolman Walker Racing. He is one of the Canadian Series runners. 2 more Gold Cup cars on row 15. Brent Asplund making his debut in this championship for Kelly Moss Road and Racing, car number 85, and his teammate Kurt Fazekas in car number 52. Row 14 of the grid is 2 more Gold Cup cars. Frank Razzo for Top Racing in car number 10, and his teammate Bill Smith just ahead of him in number 42. 2 more Gold Cup cars next on the grid. On the 13th row, Greg Palmer for Kelly Moss Road and Racing, car number 44, and Rob Ferriol for TPC Racing, making his debut again this weekend, 3rd fastest of the Gold Cup contenders. Row 12 of the grid is Wayne Ducody, in his 73rd year, if you can believe it or not, in car number 73, 2nd fastest in Gold Cup for Kelly Moss Road and Race. Great performance by Wayne. Alongside him on the grid is one of the Platinum Masters contenders, Fred Poordad, making his return to the series in car number 20 for Wright Motorsports. Row 11 on the grid is the Canadian Series Platinum Masters contender, Marco Cironi for Mark Motors Racing in car number 8. Surprisingly far down the grid for Marco, who is always a contender here. Alongside him, a Masters contender from the USA Series, car number 56, is David Baker for Top Racing. On row 10 of the grid, another debutant, Scott Wellham in car number 61 for Kelly Moss Road and Race. And one of the Canadian Series contenders, Patrick Dussault, car number 77 for Lawson Autosport GT Racing. Row 9, Sean McCaig in car number 34 for Perfal Infrastructure, and the JDX Racing car number 43 for Mark Kawami. Row 8, Jeff Boss making his return to racing after 15 years, former Champ Car IndyCar racer for JDX Racing in car number 12, and the pole sitter in the gold category, Victor Gomez from Puerto Rico for NGT Motorsports, car number 25, will start in the 15th position. Row 7 of the grid, 2 Masters Platinum contending cars. Charlie Luck moving up from Gold Cup last year in car number 45 for Wright Motorsports, and the AM Motorsports Kelly Moss machine of Alan Metney in his second season of racing, also stepping up from Gold Cup in car number 99. Row 6 of the grid, Will Hardeman from Moore Speed in car number 19, and Nelson Macy making his debut in a Canadian series, car number 35 for Policaro Motorsports Sports Car Boutique. Row 5, Michael Levitas in the Masters contender, car number 36. He's actually the fastest of the Masters contenders in car number 36, in the 10th position for TPC Racing. And Stefan Radzinski for DFC Motorsport, Speedstar Motorsport, in making his debut in the Canadian series, 9th position in car number 8. Row 4 of the grid, Jeff Kingsley, another debutant from north of the border, car number 16 for Policaro Motorsport Sports Car Boutique, and for Wright Motorsports, another debutant in the USA Series, the Hurley Haywood Scholarship winner for Wright Motorsports in car number 7 is Maxwell Root. Row 3, Anthony Imperato for car number 91 for Wright Motorsports, and a JDX Racing car number 3, Trenton Estep, quickest in practice, but only 5th fastest on the grid. Moving on to the second row, car number 96, one of the Canadian contenders, Remo Ruzzitti for Open Road Racing, car number 96, and making his debut from Germany in the American Series for Park Place Motorsports, car number 71 is David Kolkman. Onto the front row of the grid, 2 Canadians, Zachary Rubichon for Mark Motors Racing in the car number 98, and car number 1, and also car number 78, effectively, is Roman DeAngelis, who's contending for both the American and Canadian series on the pole position for Kelly Moss Road and Race.
Perfect timing, Jeremy. A little bit of bumping and barging coming out of the final corner. Trenton Esper and Roman De Angelis in the number 1 car getting together. The green flag is waved by Ali Mello, the brand ambassador for Yokohama, and we're racing for the 2018 Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge by Yokohama, and a spin early on right in front of us as across the line almost backwards. The 74 goes around Tom Kerr right at the back of the field, and the battling is fast, furious, and quite fractious as they go through Christensen's corner at turn 3. De Angelis, Estep, Anthony Imperato getting in the mix there with Maxwell Root, the Hurley Haywood Scholarship runner, and the inevitable has happened at turn 3, and there has been contact involving one of the cars being turned around.
Bill Smith was one of those cars turned. But David Kolkman, though, a great start by the young German, up into second place behind the pole sitter Roman DeAngelis.
Yeah, he's come from further back in the field, and that's interesting. He's not showing on the timing and scoring that car. He's showing down in 28th position, Kolkman, so something a little awry on that at the moment. Maybe the transponder didn't get picked up when he crossed the line. It'll reset himself as he goes through the second sector. Kolkman, with some experience of these cars, remember, has been driving in the German Carrera Cup Series, seen as a very good proving ground for young Porsche drivers, and often the Super Cup drivers do that as a parallel series because there's few, if any, clashes. And Tom Kerr's got going at the back of the field in the 74 car in the gold category of the US Series. So the whole field now heading towards the back straight for the first time, and it's been a very good start indeed by Roman De Angelis. Was not intimidated at all by Trenton Estep. He could easily have been by that side-to-side contact as they came through the final corner towards the green flag. He's held his line and his nerve, and he will lead the first lap of this race.
Yeah, I think it would have been Zachary Rubichon he was side-by-side with at the coming up for the start, but you're right, a great getaway there for the pole sitter Roman De Angelis, moving up from Gold Cup last season. He was a Canadian champion in that category. He's just 17 years of age, and he only turned 17 about a month ago, so a tremendous talent. And now Trenton Estep is in third place and looking to make a pass on David Kolkman as they head towards turn 3.
You're absolutely right. It was Zachary Robichaud, because he was on the front row, wasn't he, for the Canadian Championship. And those two Canadian drivers having a little bit of bumping and boring. The two cars involved in that turn 3 incident the first time around were cars number 42 and 83. Well, 42 was Bill Smith. As Jeremy correctly identified, it was Max Tullman who was the other car involved, and he was the car that was facing the wrong direction, but he's got going again. Big slide there in the middle of the pack. Was that the 96 car, I think, that was going through the hairpin. But at the front, the battle is on for second place with the gold and black number 3 of Trenton Estep trying to put some pressure on David Coltman, the 71 car, right ahead of him as they're battling. That is allowing Roman De Angelis to control this race. Zachary Robichon's just put the fastest first sector of the race in as he's trying to close the gap on that battling pair for second position.
Yeah, we got shuffled out at the first corner a little bit there for Zach Robichon, so he's trying to move his way forward. The purple in the middle sector this time for Roman De Angelis, who's trying to extend his lead, while Trenton Estep noses inside the kind of a 71 for second place. Excellent manoeuvre there.
That was down through the Jean de Bienne bend before you head out onto the back straight. And now Trenton Estep is up into second position. What can he do? The gap is only half a second to Roman De Angelis, but he is pulling away slightly. In fourth place, the Mark Motors car of the number 98, Zachary Robichon. If you're watching online and looking at the online timing, remember 78 and 1 are the same car. 2 transponders on that car, scoring in both of the championships, but it is the number 1 car that is being driven. His second car, he does have a different car for the Canadian Series. That car not out on the track. He is running the number 1 as somewhat bizarrely, the number 78 car and the number 1 car is one and the same. Correct.
But for some reason they decided to run 2 transponders. You got me on that one. But I guess it's something to do with the fact that the 78 car is contending for the north of the border championship, and the number 1 car is contending for the south of the border championship.
So it is the same car.
It is the same car. Yeah.
Numbers. Okay. Yeah. I thought there was a different car.
No, it must have 2 transponders. But for some reason, the number 78 car was 1/1000th of a second quicker on that lap, as it's been on and off since they started scoring them that way earlier on. So if you are watching timing and scoring, the car number 3 is shown in third place, is actually second.
Correct.
And on down from there.
Yes, exactly. Take 1 off. But the class positions crucially are correct.
That's a good point.
For the 2 different championships. Best of the Masters category is the 36 of Michael Levitas in 13th position. He's battling with Alan Mentney, who's about a second or so behind him in the Gold Cup. It is Victor Gomez, the 25 car, in a very creditable 15th position, who holds sway there. And that he'll be absolutely delighted with that. He's had a cracking start and picked his way through. Coming down the back straight then, the Kelly Moss Road and Race Porsche leads by almost a second and a half. Side-by-side racing as Anthony Imperato is going to lose a position. And the 42 car has been handed a penalty by our new race director, Bill Smith, adjudged to be the aggressor. Incident responsibility with the number 83 of Max Tullman, who's come into the pit lane, as has Tom Kerr. Charlie looks stuck out on the circuit somewhere in the 45 Masters class machine. So already then, it's down to the top 31 who are racing. Fastest lap of the race to Trenton Estep when he got by David Coltman as he tries to chase down Roman De Angelis, and he's taken half a second out of him that lap through. Number 1 leads from number 3 in second, 71 in third, 98 in fourth. Fifth is the 7, and the top 6 made up by Remo Richetti in the 96 car. And there's someone coming down the pit lane. That is Bill Smith for his drive-through. He's going to take it nice and early. Should be able to get through without losing a lap, and he was just 2 or 3 off the back of the field anyway. He'll rejoin in behind Adan Ramos. Tom Kerr still in the pit lane after that spin coming to the green flag. Don't think that he was pushed into that. I think that was just him on his own. And what I didn't see was whether he'd contacted the wall before he got stranded across the track. Live from trackside in sound and vision, it's Radio Show Limited and RST's IMSA radio feed coming to you with the pictures. And thanks to our colleagues in TV. with NASCAR Productions once again, providing us with the pictures and doing a cracking job in beautiful weather. All of our camera operators doing great work on a very long day today. Big battle for the lead in the gold category.
It's not. It's not a battle for the gold category, but
it's the two gold. Is Marco Cironi not in gold?
No,
he's in Masters, isn't he?
Yeah, he's Canadian Masters.
Yes, he's Canadian Masters. My apologies, yes. That's Victor Gomez then in the 25 car ahead of the 88 of Marco Cironi. And Victor Gomez in the 25 in 15th position is leading the gold class.
Absolutely side-by-sides there for third position.
Still side-by-side.
Yeah.
Still side-by-side. Going into turn 1 for third position. And does the 71 car hold the inside? Yes, it does, David Coltman. But Zachary Robichon trying very hard in the green and black Mark Motors car. Now looks down the inside and tries to find some room. He's up on the blue and white curve on the inside and almost makes contact going through turn 3, Christensen corner. Now heading down towards the hairpin under the bridge. And just for a moment, some breathing room for David Coltman. That 71 car for the young German driver, Park Place Porsche.
They were separated by 0.006 as they sped across the line.
As much as that?
Yeah, exactly. That was that was as side-by-side as you can get. But it's number 88, 98 car, Zach Robichon. Was he able to make that position? No, he wasn't. So it is still the Park Place machine that leads the way in that battle for third place. But the first two pulling away, and once again, it was Trenton Estep set the new fastest lap on that last time around. 4 laps completed now by our race leaders. And apparently nothing to choose between Roman DeAndres and Trenton Estep. Just, thousandths of a second between those two on that last lap.
Yeah, Trenton Estep's got another good run again, though. Best of the race in Sector 1 and 2. And he's taken 3/10 out of the leader in this part of the lap. He's going to be right on him as they come down the back straight because there was only a second there. He had nipped it down by half a second last lap, and it's going to be something similar this time as they come around again. Yeah, he's in the draft now, coming down towards Sunset, turn 17. Not close enough to make a move, but very much closer than the full second he was behind the last time they went across the line at the end of the lap. 35 minutes still to go. There they go past us. DeAngelis, 2:06.053, 2:05.699. That's a super lap by Trenton Estep, and he's now just about half a second. Again, the two cars battling for third and fourth position go side by side into turn 1. And this time the 98 car cuts up the inside in a big blocking manoeuvre by the 71. The German perhaps not really au fait with the blocking rules here. That was a big dive to the inside when it looked to me as though Zachary Robichon had position. He diamonded the corner, squared off the corner of turn 1, got the inside run, and the Park Place 71 car, seeing that, the driver pulled across hard to his left to make sure that Robichon did not get the run up the inside into turn 3.
Yeah, and what you're not allowed to do is make a reactionary defensive move. You can move first, but if the other guy behind you makes a move to make a pass and you block him at the last minute or go in reaction to him pulling out of line, that's going to be a penalty. First of all, it could be a warning, but certainly the race controller is going to be watching those two cars and how they battle for their position. They've already fallen now almost 4 seconds behind the battle for the lead.
Trenton Estep with a 2:05.699 last time around is the fastest man on the circuit grid. Battle for 6th position on the track. Maxwell Root is just holding off at the moment. Remo Ricchetti, 2 cars from 2 different championships, 7 and 96, but they're having a cracking battle, and that's about bragging rights. Meantime, a little further back, Anthony Imperato with Remo Ricchetti as well. So he's getting onto the back of those guys. And that battle for third position is still absolutely, check that, that battle for, yes, third position is still raging on with David Coltman and Zach Robichon now in a little bit of clear air. Anthony Imperato, can he close onto the back of Remo Rossetti about 3/4 of a second ahead of him? He's got a lapped car in there as well, I think. Blue car. Is that's not Remo, is it? As they go through again. Oh, Alan Mentney has spun on the exit of the final corner in the iFly number 99. Mentney from Austin in Texas. Just looping that one, coming out the final corner. Can't take your eyes off all sorts of places through the field here.
Yeah, Alan Mentney, just his second season of racing. He's the founder and inventor of the iFly process, indoor skydiving, basically. He's a former, he was on the US skydiving team himself for 10 years. That's what kind of led him to develop that technology, and he's now able to go racing. Just started racing last year from Austin, Texas, and he just kind of fell across motor racing. Several people invited him out to go to a track day experience at Circuit of the Americas, fell in love with it right away.
Still this battle between David Coltman and Zach Robichon. Coltman in the dark grey colours of Park Place, and the Mark Motors fluorescent green and black sitting in behind. Word from the race control is that Charlie Look, the fourth car, the man from Richmond, Virginia, is behind the wall, and track services are aware. As coming down to turn 16, the entry to the final corner, fantastic manoeuvre, late turn into the apex from the number 98 car. And Zachary Robichon, well, he picked his moment there, absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, that was a brilliant move. A late dive to the inside, completely incisive though, because there was no way David Coltman could turn in because Zachary Robichon was already there. Battle for the lead continues. That gap continuing to come down. It's what, less than 4/10 of a second now. Really, really close. But that move made now for third position by car number 98, Zachary Robichon. But the bad news is he's already 6 seconds behind the two leaders.
So Roman De Angelis' lead is down to under half a second now, as Trenton Estep has dragged gently back. And now we're going to have 4 cars in a moment battling from David Coltman, from Zachary Robichon, David Coltman, Maxwell Root and Remo Rossetti, pretty much line astern now. So hard to make a break here, but Robichon trying to do that. He knew that there was traffic coming, and coming very quickly indeed in the shape of the red, white and blue. Number 7 getting very sideways, backing it into turn 10. Max Root, what a young talent. This is the Hurley Haywood Scholarship winner from San Diego. And last year, well, the Hurley Haywood Scholarship winner really showed his promise and repaid the confidence and the awarding of that scholarship.
I think he was basically just doing sim racing last year. I don't think he'd done a bit
Who,
of...
Max Root?
Yeah, he'd done some PCA racing, I guess, on the West Coast.
Right.
But that's about it. Certainly this is his first professional racing for the youngster there, yeah.
And the leaders are now together. Number 1 is Roman De Angelis in the green and white Porsche. The famous racing colours of black and gold of Hertz going down the inside at turn 16, trying to do the manoeuvre that Zachary Robichon pulled off with aplomb last time around, but he can't get it done as Trenton Estep has to back out of that. Actually, really good driving by both of those guys, scrapping for the lead, racing room given, but discretion certainly the better part of valor. I think Estep saw the opportunity, tried to do it straight away when he got on to the rear wing of the leader, realised he wasn't going to do it and backed straight out. That's smart driving by both drivers.
Yeah, and you know, these two have gone wheel to wheel before. They raced in Formula Ford a couple of years ago. Last season, they were both racing in this championship, but DeAndres was in a Gold Cup car, so they weren't really battling for position last year, but they got some great battles the previous year in Formula Ford north of the border in Canada.
Greg Palmer spinning off to the side of the circuit at Tower Turn 13, I think that was, that he's gone around. He's facing the traffic with his rear Yokohamas in the dirt. Just under 28 minutes to go, live from trackside. IMSA TV brings you live motor racing on a Thursday. We need more of this, and the battle for the lead has just put a lap on the number 24 of Adan Ramos, and they've blasted by him and continue this fight. Remo Rischetti and Max Root are having a cracking scrap as well for 6th and 7th. They were pretty much side by side across the line last time. And here's the scrap for the lead through turn 10. Big crowd there as always. Side by side through 11. And Estep stays on the outside. There's a bit of damage to the right front of the car where there's been side-to-side contact. Or has he picked up debris? He goes through 3 corners from turn 10 through to 13. They were side by side, and Estep toughs it out, often on the wrong side of the circuit and on the slippery stuff, and somehow he has the skill and the grip to get through and take the lead.
Very impressive run there for Trenton Estep. He makes that move in that Hertz car for JDX Racing. Jeremy Dale and Harrison Bricks, the team principals there. This team based in Colorado, but there is the Canadian connection there. Jeremy Dale's from Canada, of course, originally, and Trenton Estep did most of his racing in Canada before moving to Porsches last year.
Rob Ferriol has gone around in the gold class car. He was second in the class. Yeah. And that is going to be costly. Kurt Fasikas, Wayne Ducote, Frank Razzo, and Brent Asplund was not that far behind him. And I think he's lost all of those places. Victor Gomez in 15th position, right in the platinum class cars. Remember, Victor Gomez started last season in a platinum class car, had a big accident here, and went back to the previous year's car that he'd raced and put himself into Gold Cup. Had he got some points here, he might have been in with a shout for the championship at the end of the year. And he's setting himself out as a Gold Cup favourite candidate very early on this season with an impressive drive. Also doing a grand job, Trenton Estep, who's pulled out half a second on Roman De Angelis. Roman in the platinum category this year. Kelly Moss Road and Race. Are Kelly Moss running him in both series, Jeremy?
Well, sort of, yeah. It's a sort of combined effort it'll be this season. Mark Motors, he drove for last year in Canada, entered by Mark Motors in the Canadian series, but it'll be kind of in conjunction with Kelly Moss as well. Kelly Moss really
and it's the same car, as you say.
Not sure about that, actually. I'm not
whether
100%
they've got
sure
another
about that.
chassis.
They had from last year.
Right, got you.
But I'm not 100% sure. But Kelly Moss really spreading its wings this year, not only with that move north of the border, but also running last year's USA champion Jake Edson in conjunction with Project One in the Porsche Carrera Cup Germany and the Super Cup as well.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's a big step up. My goodness, they are really spreading their wings, as you say. Battle for 15th position as Mark Kvarme has caught Victor Gomez. Now, they're not in the same class, but that won't stop them having a bit of a scrap. Similar base colours to the car, sort of a bluey-green colour, but different coloured stripes. 2 different takes on the classic liveries of the past. So the 25 car is in 15th position, the 43 one behind, and then coming through behind that is Jeffrey Boss in the number 12. Jeffrey from Rhode Island.
Yeah, the former Indy Lights and actually IndyCar racer as well. His last race was in 2003 at Surfers Paradise. He finished in the top 10 in a Champ Car race there.
Were you there for that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I thought it might have been.
Absolutely.
I have driven around that circuit,
that place,
but only in a Nissan Patrol V8. Great event.
Yeah. Jeff Boss, he pretty much started his racing here actually with the Skip Barber School. Going back a long way now, but it's been had various business opportunities as well, but got some Wyndham sponsorship for this season, and great to see Jeff Boss, really a great guy, back in the sport. His brother Andy, of course, raced with Jeff in the Indy Lights days. He's not yet been tempted back, but I wonder.
Smashing colours.
And Jeff's
problem for the 35 car. It's in the wall. There's damage to the left front, and that is Nelson Mason in the white with the black, navy blue and light blue stripes. I was just about to compliment Jeffrey Boss on a very nice take on a classic Porsche livery with the mainly white car, the lighter blue racing stripes and the Carrera stripes on the side.
And one of the reasons for that is because his grandfather used to race for Briggs Cunningham back in the 50s. In fact, his grandfather was the starter here for the very first 12 hours of Sebring.
Right.
The official starter. And then he finished 5th in this race in the 50s, I think, either in a Cunningham or a Jaguar way back. Way back.
We are under a full course caution with 21.5 minutes to go. Trenton Estep had only managed to ease out to about 3/4 of a second from Romain De Angelis, but they'll all be closed up now. And Zachary Robichon, who'd pulled out a second and more over David Coltman since he'd gone through, and actually he'd just put the fastest lap of the race in before the yellows came out. So he was trying to chase down the 2 leaders. Well, he's going to be right up behind them now. David Coltman will be in 5th position. The best news I can give you about Nelson Mason's accident is he might be writing a cheque for some parts for his less than pristine, pre-loved Porsche, but he's walked out of the car. Looks like the right front guard, the fender, wheel arch, is pushed onto the Yokohama tyre. Headlight broken. Front bumper might polish out or have a new bit of livery on it. In the classes, Victor Gomez leads in 14th position overall, but is top of the gold category. Kurt Fazekas into second from Wayne Ducote and Frank Razzo. And then Brent Asplund. And as I suggested, Rob Ferriol dropped all the way behind after he spun his car. Greg Palmer in 7th place in the gold. In the Masters category, Michael Levitas is in 13th position and leads that one. Mark Kavame is 2 positions further back with Victor Gomez, and that's why Mark Kavame wanted to get by Victor Gomez, because he wanted to get up the road and see if he could chase down Michael Levitas. Well, they're all going to be together behind the safety car. In the Canadian Championship, Romain De Angelis leads his class, of course, the Platinum, from in 2nd place, Zach Robichon. He's a couple of cars behind. In 3rd, another couple of cars behind, Remo Richetti. And in the Canadian Masters, I think
it's just Marco Tironi, actually.
Yes,
most of them are youngsters in the Canadian series.
You're right.
Yeah, they're all, most of them are, well, pretty much all under 30 apart from Marco. In fact, they are all under 30 apart from Marco. Nelson Mason, who's making his debut, he is 30 from Niagara Falls. He's another guy who raced at the Formula Ford Festival, by the way. And his brother was a pretty useful racer as well. But Nelson is making a comeback now. He's been out of the sport, I think, for several years. And Stefan Radzinski, he's
4th position for Stefan. Yeah. That's a really good run. He's done some Micra Cup in the past and came down with an online vote. Put him in the Race of Champions at Miami that I did the TV for, to partner with Hinch. Hinchcliffe, James Hinchcliffe, as Team Canada, and he did really well. He took a couple of big scalps in that. I'm not surprised he's a useful driver, is Stefan. Razzle Dazzle, they call him north of the border. He's driven just about everything over the years. He was a youngster trying to make his way in single-seater racing, did some Skip Barber racing, and then way too early for him, actually, got a race at his hometown in Edmonton, Indy Lights. He started off in Indy Lights on the Mazda Road to Indy, and then the following year... It's not how that's meant to work.
No, the following year he stepped down a level to Pro Mazda. The year after that, he went to the first, what should have been the first level in USF 2000. So
he did the Mazda Road from Indy.
Yeah, from Indy, yes, he did, actually. But a great character, great young man. And you look, he was just, the opportunity came up to do that race at Edmonton, his home track in Indy Lights. So he took it, finished in the top 10, did a respectable job, and turned that into a couple of seasons in Pro Mazda and then USF. So had some good results there. And the last few years, he's been trying to break into sports car racing, and he sees this now as a wonderful opportunity for him to make a career for himself in Canada in this Ultra 94 Championship.
17.5 minutes still to run. We're behind the safety car. And, well, Trenton Estep now, having done the hard work and made the pass for the lead, is going to have to do it all again. Back to the start for a moment. I just want to see what happened to the 74 car. Do you know, I think he did get a little touch there from Tom Kurt.
Oof, ouch.
But Bill Smith in the 42 was definitely the one at fault. by no means was it deliberate, but he was out of control and affected someone else's race. He was given the responsibility for the contact. I think that's a good call. And a fantastic overtaking manoeuvre for the lead, which started 3 corners before it was finished at Tower Turn, and the 2 leading cars side by side for all of that time.
Yeah, and really good respect from both of those youngsters. I mean, Trenton Estep's 18, Roman DeAngelis 17, and for those two to be racing these cars like that at this age, rather than banging doors and whatever, that was good respect for both of them. Trenton Estep made the pass. It's a long season. Trenton already has, from San Antonio, Texas, already has a season in the Platinum Cast cars. For Roman DeAngelis, moving into the Platinum car for the first time after pretty much dominating in gold last year.
A lot of waving coming up to the green flag, waved by Ali Melo, the brand ambassador for Yokohama. Hard to say whether Tom Kerr got a little bit of help, but if not, it was a very odd place to lose it because he was on the straight and with wheels straight. So I can only imagine he got a little tap.
Well, or he had to kind of jump on the brakes. He kind of anticipated the start. And the car's obviously always unsettled there. Here's a replay of what happened into turn 3. We can see the orange car toward the back of the field of
Bill Smith.
Bill Smith just locking them up, again, locking them up under braking and sliding sideways and collecting Maxwell Tolman.
Yeah, Maxwell was already trying to avoid someone else who checked up in front of him. That's the nature of these very tight races. Just a quick thought for Roman DeAngelis. Jumping out of the Gold Cup car last year, the Platinum car is a different car.
Oh, yes.
And it looks very similar. There's 1 or 2 details on the outside that you could tell them apart, including the extrication hatch on the roof. But it's a different driving position. It's moved slightly further to the middle. There's a different dashboard and control system. The gearbox has been slightly... it will be slightly different. It runs a slightly different program and shifts slightly different. But the biggest thing, Jeremy, is he's got more power under his right foot. A considerable amount of more power.
That's right. I think weren't we told when a new car came out it had some 15 horsepower more or something than the older one? And the drivers we told that to laughed. I mean, literally laughed. You said, you've got to be kidding. It's a lot more than that. Just speaking to Roman this morning, telling me, you can tell the difference between those 2 cars.
The lights are out on the brand new safety car for 2018, and it's a classic Guards red shade as the leader, Trenton Estep, is slowing everybody down, really controlling the field. It's now under his control. He's backing everyone up, and he gets on the throttle, and a huge sideways slide over the bump under the bridge coming out through 17. He did well to hold that. It was a good job nobody was right up his tailpipes, because Roman DeAngelis could have had an advantage there, and the field is spread over the start-finish line, so none of the shenanigans we saw earlier on, except for the fact we've got a challenge further down the field as the number 7 of Maxwell Root takes his opportunity to have a go at Roman Rossetti. He's side by side with him. I'm not sure he's got that done quite yet, but as they come into turn 3, he loses it on the curb and almost hits Rossetti ahead of him, but fantastic save in the blue and white number 7 car by Maxwell Root, the Hurley Haywood Scholarship winner. We're going to be calling his name an awful lot. He is fearless and fast. Right in behind him, Anthony Imperato. You might have thought he would have had a chance to make a position there. I think he was hanging back, waiting for the inevitable accident to happen, but somehow the car control from Root kept that car on the straight and narrow.
It was impressive, wasn't it? And then down into the hairpin there at turn 7, Maxwell Root, for a youngster who doesn't have any experience at this level, defending the inside line to make sure there was no room through there for Anthony Imperato in kind of 91.
Fantastic restart from the leader, Trenton Estep, already half a second on the field.
Yes, but you're supposed to maintain the pace car, the safety car speed, aren't you, coming up to the yellow flag? He slowed it right down to get that big jump off turn 17 and try and steal a march on the rest of the field. Canny driving, but you've got to be careful you don't overstep the limits of what is set by the chief steward before the race.
Safety car accelerates away, of course, to give you room. You can't pass the safety car before it's into the pit lane. And behind, it looks like Will Hardiman was making a move there on Anthony Imperato behind Maxwell Root. They were side by side for a moment, and coming down the back straight, there's more side by side action as well, as Ricchetti is defending again on the number 7, and Hardiman has gone through and puts the 91 car of Imperato back to 9th position. That was an opportunist manoeuvre at turn 16. We've seen a couple of people try it, and now a couple of people have pulled it off as well. The leaders flash by us from our left to right from the IMSA broadcast booth here. And Estep led by almost 0.6 of a second from De Angelis, then Robichon, then Kolkman, Ricchetti, Root, Hardiman, Imperato, Rzazinski in 10th position. Best of the Gold Cup drivers still Victor Gomez in 14th position overall. That's a great run. Remo Ricchetti now has Maxwell Root and Will Hardiman following in his wheel tracks as they head down towards turn 7 and the hairpin. And this is a great little battle for 6th, 7th and 8th. The Canadian category car of Remo Ricchetti not battling the 2 cars behind in terms of championship points. Even if they go through, he'll still get his 3rd position. But, of course, he wants to try and stay somewhere near to Zach Robichon to be able to pass. Oh, sideways under braking. That's the 7 car. That's Max Root, and that was a rookie error. Very locked up, backing it in like a MotoGP rider into turn 10. And just the faintest of touch on the back of Ricchetti ahead of him that just gently ushered him off the circuit. And that will be being looked at. Not intentional again. But this kid's got fabulous car control, but just overstretched himself there, and that will be already having had a look at up in race control.
Yeah, going to be busy. There's a great dive to the inside by Will Hardiman on Maxwell Root, car number 7. At the battle now for, I think it'll be for 6th position. That was going into the S's there, unable to make that pass stick.
5th overall, in fact, in that, because don't forget we've got Roman De Angelis with 2 spots on the timing and scoring. I'll be very surprised if that position isn't reversed. I think the problem that Root's got here, Max Root's got here, Jeremy, is that he can't make restitution to Remo Ricchetti because Will Hardiman is behind him and not Remo. If it had been Remo, he could have possibly just let him go by, and I think he might have saved himself a drive-through. Masters category, Marco Sciaroni for the Canadian class. He's the best of the Masters. Got Michael Levitas right in behind him, who's the Platinum Masters category leader, the 36 car for the US category. 25 in the blue, orange and green NGT run car. That is our gold category winning. You can just slightly see the difference on the rear end. I think it's most noticeable. Slightly different headlight design as well. If you've got keen eyes, there are sort of 4 LEDs on the newer cars' headlights, and also the newer cars a different design between the rear spoiler, between the uprights for the aerofoil. A little bit of a ducktail on the newer car. Looks absolutely fantastic, the Gen 2 991 Carrera Cup car. The battle for the lead, well, Roman De Angelis refuses to allow Trenton Estep any breathing room. It's still just on that 0.6 of a second.
Yeah, and Zachary Robichon is hanging on there in 3rd place as well. He's not far behind. He's, I don't know, maybe 10, 12 car lengths behind. And David Kolkman doing the best he can to try and hang in there as well. He's maybe a second behind the 3rd place car. Then a bit of a gap back to that tremendous battle that continues between Maxwell Root and Will Hardiman.
Rob Ferriol, by the way, having spun away 2nd position in GT3 Gold in the US Championship, has recovered now and got back past Greg Palmer, and he's now right on the tail of Wayne Ducote, trying to get back into 3rd position. Wayne is 3 seconds behind Kurt Fazekas, who is in 2nd in the 52 car, but Victor Gomez dominating the gold category. He is 9 places further up the road and something in the region of 12 seconds, and plenty of platinum class cars between him in the 25 car, the chasing Gold Cup category. Zach Robichon in third position in the bright green Mark Motors 98 car.
Looked like Jeff Boss was lining up Mark Kawami there to make a move for would be 15th position overall. Jeff Boss isn't listed as a Masters contender. I think he should be because he's 48 years old. Sorry, Jeff, 48 years old now. But Mark Gironi is the overall Masters contender, but he's not running as part of the USA Series. So it's Michael Levitas who leads the US Series Masters, Platinum Masters category. Mark Kawami in second place and Jeff Boss trying to take that away.
What's the age? Is it 45, the age?
It's 40-something.
Right.
But I'm pretty sure it's not 50. Well, I might be wrong. Let's see who else is in there.
Well, Fred Purtard is over 50.
Yeah, true.
Definitely. David Baker's over...
50.
I don't know.
Yeah,
yes,
maybe
I think
it is
he
50.
is. Charlie Luck is definitely over 50. Not sure about Scott Wellham.
He's 57, yeah.
Right, okay. Bill Smith is over 50.
So maybe it is 50 nowadays.
Wayne
It didn't used to
Ducote's
be.
well over 50.
Yes. He's well over 70.
Fabulous. And well done for him.
Doing a great job. He's running in the Gold Cup and still hanging on to what, 4th position in that category. Rob Ferriol, did he just get past him?
He's just gone past him.
Yeah, okay.
He's just gone past Wayne Ducote, so he's back up into 30. He's only 2/10 behind him at the line. The battle for the lead comes round to turn 17. And time is ticking away. We're getting down to 5.5 minutes. But the top 3 are just still within a second of each other. Make that 3/4 of a second as they flash across the line. And also coming, David Kolkman. He's in a bit of clear air at the moment. Robichon, very quick indeed in the third sector and puts his fastest lap in the race in last time around to close within 0.6 of a second of De Angelis, who's half a second away from Estep. So the top 3 just on a second apart, side by side, as the 88 Mark Motors car goes down the inside. That's Marco Gironi, and he is battling towards turn 3 at the moment.
Yeah, and he's finished on the overall podium here fairly recent, in not too distant past, Marco.
And he's just gone past the number 8 of Stefan Radzinski and taken a position on the road. Yeah,
Marco's 51, and he's been a master for several years. So the age limit used to be, I think it was either 40 or 45.
Okay.
And I don't have a rule book handy.
Is there any limitation on what experience you've got? So
no.
It's just purely on age?
I believe,
right,
I believe so.
So... great scrapping going on. Those Mark Motors cars, very distinctive liveries.
Yeah.
With the almost highlighter pen base colour down to Tower Turn. And that was a good move by Gironi. Radzinski gave him the room. Didn't make any silly manoeuvres at the front of the field. The leaders are still only half a second apart.
Great battling going on, yeah. And Zach Robichon, he's been the... has he been the fastest? Yeah, he's been the fastest car for the last couple of laps of that leading group. Well, actually, last lap around, it was David Kolkman who was quicker than all of them, and quicker than all of them actually was Remo Rossetti, who turned a 2:06.3 on that last lap.
That was his best lap of the race. Yes, very good. Coming down, burning off the fuel, and the Yokohama tyres doing their job. Teams will have decided how to set the cars up. Bit of a flash of the headlight by the leader, as they put a lap on one of the tail enders. That was good driving by everybody there. But the top 3 are together. We're going to have, I think, one more lap after this one, Jeremy. Robichon with a 2:05.7 last time around has really closed up, and the top 3 now under a second apart. Going down to the hairpin at turn 7. Live from trackside at Sebring. Round 1 of the IMSA Porsche GT3 Cups, USA and Canada by Yokohama. And the top 3. Trenton Estep leads then by half a second, a scant half a second. No mistakes here, Trenton. You can't afford to slide wide, but he can't afford to cruise either. And for me, the car that looks slightly, I think, Zach Robichon's got slightly the better car under him. He is second in the Canadian Championship, and the guy who's leading the Canadian part of the championship is right ahead of him, being entered for both. So he's second in the American, De Angelis, and leading the Canadian. This is a real opportunity for Zachary Robichon to take the top step of the Ultra 94 podium.
Yeah, that battle is very much joined now for second and third. Trenton Estep, for really the first time in his race, has pulled out just a little bit of a margin now as they head on to the Ullman Straight for the 19th time. And it's, just a couple of minutes to go. Is it going to be white flag this time around then?
I think it'll have to be. I think that this will be the last lap. And here comes Robichon. He's closing. We know he's quick in that final sector. And he's got the assistance of a toe, a hole in the air being punched by De Angelis. Now, can he get into position? The white flag is in the air. One more lap for the first round of the IMSA Porsche GT3 Cup Challenges for USA and Canada by Yokohama. And the battle for second overall, but the lead in the Ultra 94 Championship, there's not a full Porsche length between them as they come out of turn one, up towards Christensen corner now. And De Angelis, I think, any thought from De Angelis that he could win this race overall is gone now, because he's looking in his mirrors at Zachary Robichon.
That's right. And last time around, Trenton Estep went purple in sector 2. He pulled out 0.4 of a second on that middle sector over those two chasers. So Trenton Estep, now the race is in his hands. If he can keep it clean from here, he'll be looking good for a victory. He won 2 races last season as a rookie, did Trenton Estep, then as a 17-year-old, and now looking to get the 2018 season off to the perfect start.
Defensive driving by Roman De Angelis as he goes into turn 10. Oh, the leader just slides wide a tiny little bit through turn 11. He's got a little bit of breathing space because the two behind are battling. But De Angelis will have seen that. When you follow a car, you can see if it's starting to lose grip from the back end. So just half a lap to go. Less than that now. Couple of corners and then down the long Ullman Straight, the back straight here at Sebring. And then it'll be the seemingly endless right-hand corner at turn 17 with a big bump in the middle, down the inside. This is for the lead in the Canada version of the championship. And it's at turn 16 again that Zachary Robichon makes his move. That is clearly his signature part of the circuit. And with less than a third of a lap to go, he's in the lead. The headlamps are flashing from Roman De Angelis, but there's no time for him to respond there. That's a super overtake. It will be second in the race and the win in the Ultra 94 part of the championship, but the overall and the win in the USA Cup Challenge goes to Trenton Estep. Second place will be Zachary Robichon, with De Angelis in third.
Where's Kolkman?
Kolkman has stopped. Kolkman is stopped on the final lap, so Max Root comes through. Now, still, I would say that's very provisional at the moment because of that bump and run from Max Root earlier on. Hardman will come through in fourth in the American Championship. Rossetti will come through in third in the Canadian. Then the rest of the top 10, Anthony Imperato in 8th. 9th, Marco Cironi will be the first Masters driver home in the Canadian Championship. Then Rudzinski will get a 10th position. But what a disaster for David Kolkman, the highly rated German. Car has not made the finishing line. Victor Gomez wins the Gold Cup category in 14th overall. Kirk Facilitas is second, and Rob Ferriol recovers back to third, having spun away a solid second position about a third of the way through that race. Good fighting drive back by Rob Ferriol. But what a finish to the race. Trenton Estep beautifully judged. Zachary Robichon with the latest of late moves on turn 16 on the final lap. Came not from nowhere, but my goodness, he had one chance and he took it. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant drive by him. Victor Gomez, he comes home as the Gold Cup winner in the 14th position overall, well clear of Kurt Vazikas, who takes second place for Kelly Moss Road and Race.
in a Gold Cup, ahead of Rob Ferriol, who did very, very well to come back from that spin on his debut in this championship, just ahead of Wayne Ducote and Bill Smith.
A smoky Porsche. David Kolkman down, I think, towards the hairpin, Jeremy, at turn 7 on the last lap. Now, he was in the battle, so was that contact?
He wasn't in the battle.
As I said, he was in. Yes, he was in a bit of air, wasn't he? You're absolutely right.
He'd actually slipped back over the last couple. That's quite a long way. He'd lost a couple of seconds on the previous lap, and then he went missing. So I think maybe there was some sort of a problem developing. It's a replay of that brilliantly opportunistic manoeuvre by Zachary Robichon to take over second place
and win the Ultra 94 Cup for the Canadian drivers. All of the drivers off the track on the Ullman Straight trying to pick up debris on the tyres and raise the ride height of the car. That tells its own story. How close to the ride height were they running?
And pick up some extra weight as well on all that pickup on the tyres. But what a great result for Zachary Robichon. He's finished second in the Ultra 94 Championship each of the last 2 years with 2 wins in each of those seasons. What a great way to start for him in 2018.
What a great pass. The two Mark Motors cars together coming into the pit lane with Marco Cironi, who finished in the top 10 overall. It's quite funny there, actually. Marco Cironi came through and got ahead of Zach Robichon. And Zach wasn't too happy because he was picking up all the rubbish on the side and there was nothing left. Some of that's mine. I would like some of that. Well done to Victor Gomez in the Porsche Center Puerto Rico sponsored car. And he starts off his season very nicely indeed. Started last season in the Platinum Cup here. Big accident. Car decided not to repair the Platinum car and went back to his Gold Cup car and had a great season after that. Really was in contention. Had he had a few points in Gold Cup here at Sebring last year, he might have been there.
No, would have. He only lost it by 2 points, despite missing effectively 2 of the Gold Cup races. Only missed it by 2 points. And it was the consistency that won that championship for Fred Keimer last season, who's his teammate at NGT Motorsport. Fred's doesn't seem to be racing with us this season, which is unfortunate. He had a super season. Didn't win a race last year, but it was that consistency and came away with a well-deserved championship.
Well, fantastic entertainment as ever from the Porsche Cup. And what a shame for the German driver right at the end of the race, David Kolkman, with an expired Porsche. And yes, it is down at turn 7 that car came to an end. He's got the Deutsche Post overalls on, so that probably means he is a Porsche Junior driver. Getting some support there.
I think that could be. He was one of the
supported, helped.
Could be.
We're just watching him type drivers. Several different categories of Porsche assistance for drivers this year. Well, Jeremy lived up to the billing as ever. We love the sound of the flat sixes and they keep on delivering action time after time. That is a cracking way to start off the IMSA Porsche GT3 Cup Challenges for USA and Canada, the Ultra 94 Series for Canada, both by Yokohama. And it's been a pleasure to watch that and describe it for you with Jeremy Shaw. Rest assured, for the US Series, we'll follow them throughout pretty much the whole of the season. Every time that they're with the IMSA WeatherTech Series, we'll have full live coverage, both in sound and vision, of their races. And you can follow them all here on IMSA Radio RS2, part of the IMSA Radio Network and the Radio Show Limited network of channels. From Jeremy and me, John Hindhaugh, it's bye for now. Twice he pulled that off, and Estep couldn't make it happen for him. That was interesting. He had a go. He must. Oh no.